And while there's a reprieve from the rain, more rain expected this week in the city of Cape Town, but we know it's been a devastating period, particularly for people living in Cape Town's 900 informal settlements. The City of Cape Town's Disaster Risk Management Centre saying that 33,000 households have been affected in the metropole, both in formal and informal settings, affecting something like 95,000 people. But it's of course those who live in informal settlements that have borne the brunt of last week's devastating, stormy, rainy weather. Speak now to Mmamoloko Kubayi, who is the Minister of Human Settlements. Minister, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate your time. What currently is the status of the many people? Last week, your department reported at least 500 households whose properties are submerged in water following the floods here in Cape Town have been relocated to safer accommodations temporarily. Where are they being assisted?
Good morning to you and good morning to the listeners. Yes, indeed, since last week, as we committed as the department that we will be able to relocate the 500 families, and currently we have relocated them within that day I was there. We've got the place in terms of, I think it's Western Cape Good Hope School, boarding school, where it's quite safer and more different for them to be able to maybe connect to provide temporary relief in terms of food. So we've got those places for now until at least the areas can clear in terms of water, while the technical teams are engaging to see if we would be able to find alternative land that we can relocate. As you saw when we visited, including at the time Mayor then later joined us, was that from the city they do indicate, or the disaster teams, they indicate that we've got about 850 informal settlements that are literally staying what we call category C informal settlements, meaning that they are in danger and we should be able to relocate. Now, the challenge within the City of Cape Town is around land availability, and that's what the team needs to work on in terms of government-owned parcels of land. There's been other land that the mayor says they've been trying to get, which we have committed as the national department that will get into those discussions so that we can see we can't get it. It's from a church, I understand, owned by a church, that we could be able to accommodate many people. So that's the work that we're doing. The NHPRC has done the assessment. I'm expecting the report today. They did assessment from Thursday until Saturday of formal structures that actually had been damaged. We're expecting that report today so that we can start interventions. The material started to be delivered in the areas that were affected by the tornadoes. That happened on Saturday as well, for families to be able to be reprieved. As we said, our concern mainly is that what we are doing is interventions as a response to what has happened. But from my side, I said to the team, we held a meeting fully in the day on Friday to say we need to look at the entire country in terms of all areas where people are sitting in high danger. One, it's people who are sitting below high voltage electricity cable, because those as well, with these disasters, with the storms that are happening, one day we're going to have a difficulty with those. It's those that are sitting on river banks. It's those that are sitting closer to or areas where there are wetland actually that can submerge and all that, including in rural areas, so that we can count in terms of what we need and approach National Treasury and other institutions to support us and assist us so that we proactively relocate them instead of them being affected every time.
Minister, flooding in low-lying areas in Cape Town is an annualized issue. My entire life has been about experiencing and talking to people in places like Philippi, the Marcus Garvey settlement there, more recently along the banks of the Diep River in Dunoon. People building areas and building dwellings in low-lying areas, in natural wetland areas. And of course, the availability of land is a very, very important and critical issue. But is enough being made to inform people that if you are going to build in low-lying traditional floodplain areas, if there is heavy rain, it's not going to just rain from the sky. That water is going to seep up from underfoot and you're going to be waking up in a pool of water. Is enough being done to inform and educate and saying this is not, noting a land availability crisis, this is not the best, far from the most ideal spot to build a dwelling, Minister?
No, we are informing the people. I can tell you based on my personal experiences as well. I mean, I've had conversations, for example, with people in wetland, informal settlement, and COVID-19 informal settlement. Before the rains happened, I had actually requested them that at that time to say, you are sitting in difficult areas. They had marched to us when we held an event in the in CTICC. And when we engaged them, they were not believing when we said you are sitting in an area that is not suitable. So you do find that incident that you talk to them, they don't believe, or either others don't have anywhere else to go. That's some of the realities. They tell you, no, I just came from another province and then I ended up here. I don't know anywhere else, and I've built community here. So it's various factors that literally lead to them staying in these areas. Others is because somebody actually had taken money from them to say, no, come stay here. So they don't think that anyone can sell a land for them where it's not safe. So it's various things that would need us to work comprehensively, not alone, work with civil society, NGOs in communities, work in rural areas, work with traditional leaders. So in the city of Cape Town, we'll have to work with NGOs that are there so that they can help us in terms of what we call social facilitation. And that's why on all the business plans for the municipalities, including the city of Cape Town, I've said they must increase money that relates allocation for social facilitation, because these are things that needs to happen in our communities so that we can save lives.
Let's talk about the unlocking of emergency assistance. The city says it has been engaged with the National Department to devolve emergency funding, not just to the city of Cape Town, but to all municipalities to deal with emergencies, whether it be flood assistance, whether it be assistance as a result of fires, particularly in informal settlements. What is the issue around devolving emergency funding to capable cities or metros?
Yeah, let's say they've not engaged. I've seen a media statement from the MMC, and that was unfortunate because, for example, it would have taken a phone call for him to get in, and perhaps issues that we needed to deal with, it's historic issues that he might not have been familiar with. When I arrived in the portfolio in 2021, the emergency funding was in provinces and municipalities. And my experience and what we had to deal with was emergencies that we had not responded to for over years. I mean, I went across the country and found that we had emergencies that had not been responded to from 2010 by municipalities and by the provinces. Secondly, in the city of Cape Town, we had fires that had happened, and the city had not responded to those fires. Actually, they had said that they are not, while they had the emergency funding, they had stopped provision of the fire kit completely. And those are some of the reasons why we took a decision as national to take the responsibility, because we understood that what the cities and municipalities would do is that they will take money because it was within informal settlement what they could have spent. And then they would say, no, our focus is to deal with informal settlement upgrading as a long-term issue. The city on its own, if you can go, Lester, and check, it was announced by the then MMC boy, who said that they do not think it's necessary as a city for them to issue fire kits. So those are some of the reasons why, as national, when we engage with communities, we understood that we've got the responsibility, because I can go to communities and start blaming a municipality for taking certain decisions. Because obviously most of the time these municipalities will tell you it's our constitutional right as a metro or as a municipality to take decisions within council. So I had to be going up and down requesting them and begging them to respond to the people. So that's why we took this responsibility. And by the way, since national government took this responsibility, I can tell you, talk to councillors, they will tell you the response time is quicker, is efficient. What I do not understand is what are the reasons for them to ask for devolution of power. For example, MMC says, no, they will be quicker. I was the first one. He didn't go to those wards that I went. I was the first one to be on those wards, coming from national. Now, disaster response can be responded to sitting in our comfort of our offices when we do not go on the ground to see what is happening, interact with communities, and ensure that as we provide multi-pronged responses, communities understand what you are doing and actually have bought into the system that you are making and providing response to. Because they are not passive participants. These are communities that have a right. These are communities that we must engage with and talk to them.
Mmamoloko Kubayi, Minister of Human Settlements, really appreciate your time.